Based on the rugby we've seen, who is getting into the British and Irish Lions squad? Who would make a test 23-man squad if you were picking it right now? Well, I'm going to go through the process of picking my squad. Or what I should say is updating my squad, because after round 2 of the Six Nations, I did select a squad. And let's see what's changed after another few games that we've seen. And also some news on injuries, recoveries, some players coming back into form, playing themselves out of form. Like I say, at the end of the video, I will get to my test 23. I know you'll let me know what you reckon, and please do in the comments down below. So I initially picked, and on a previous video, a 37-man squad. And I chose that number because that was the number that were taken on the last tour to South Africa. It got pointed out to me in the comments, and thank you for them. I really am down there with you in and amongst the comments. It was pointed out that actually that 37 number was deliberately small because of the whole COVID situation that there was, and actually it's more likely to be 40 or 41. And thank you very much for letting me know that, and the people that commented on that in the comments. And hey, I'm game on to select more players. That means I get to reward more people for their great performances. So yeah, I'm going to up the squad as I go through this to 41. And looking at the way that was distributed in tours gone by, that means I've got an extra front row forward, an extra back row forward, an extra centre, and an extra outside back as well. So that takes the number of forwards in total to 23 and backs to 18. So the way I left it last time was I had 6 props. On the loose head side, Andrew Porter, Ellis Genge, Pierre Schoeman. And on the tight head side, Xander Fagerson, Tadhg Furlong and Will Stewart. Very happy with those 6. With the exception of Tadhg Furlong. Now, if he is fit and available, he is going. The guy has got so much credit in the bank that there's no way he's not going to go to Australia if he's available. But he hasn't played yet in the Six Nations, and I'm not sure whether he will against France. It's strange that he's not playing for Leinster this weekend, or at least it could be strange that he's not playing for Leinster this weekend. It was said that he's not available to play for Leinster this weekend. But are they just keeping him wrapped in cotton wool to unleash him against France in that massive game in Dublin next weekend? Maybe. We will see. His selection or not is going to be really, really important. Well, as much as anything for Ireland, because like I say, Tadhg Furlong is going. But I have to say, when I look around, firstly, I've got to say, I mentioned Gareth Thomas on the last one, and he's a great player, was on the last Lions tour. Nicky Smith has entered the chat. What a performance against Ireland. In fact, against Thomas Clarkson on the Irish side of things. But that brings me to Ireland because Finlay Bealham has been brilliant in the absence of Tadhg Furlong. And when he came on last week against Wales, the scrum suddenly sorted. I'm taking Finlay Bealham as my extra front row player. Partly because we've still got the question mark around Tadhg Furlong on the injury. Partly because tight head prop is so important. Partly because Finlay Bealham is just playing that well. So I'm taking 4 tight head props, and my extra spot is going to Finlay Bealham. Let me know what you think. Hooker, last time I had Dan Sheehan. I mean, he's the clear number 1. Dewi Lake, I think he'll go, but he needed to get back and fit. He is available, and he could be selected for Wales in their game against Scotland. That is a huge match. And for Dewi Lake as much as anyone, because I was getting to the point where I'm like, Ronan Kelleher is a proper player, and he's outside of my squad at the minute. The 3rd spot I'd given to Jamie George, and I was thinking, well, if Dewi Lake doesn't come back soon, he's going to start dropping down the depth chart. And Ronan Kelleher is so good that it's harsh for him to miss out if Dewi Lake is not playing. Dewi Lake's back. I'm going to keep it as it is for now. In the lock position, I had 5 of them. The 3 Irishmen, Tadhg Beirne, Joe McCarthy, James Ryan, and 2 Englishmen, Maro Itoje and Ollie Chesham, with another Englishman being George Martin, narrowly missing out in my last selection. Scott Cummings, can he get back and fit and play in some big Champions Cup games? That could get him on the plane, you never know. But as it stands, I've got those players. And George Martin, his case is not going to be helped by the fact that it's been announced he's out for the remainder of the Six Nations. Big blow for him. He'll hope maybe he's got some big games to play with Leicester before the end of the season. Otherwise, his British and Irish Lions audition could be done. Will it be enough? That's going to be a big question. Ollie Chessman's playing some brilliant rugby just now. So I'm going to stick with those 5. In the back row, I have got that extra spot to use up. Where would you distribute that? Assuming you agree with the 7 selections I had last time, which were Tom Curry, Jack Willis, Josh van der Fleer, Rory Darge, Jack Morgan, Caelan Doris and Ben Earl. Serious talent in the back row. There's going to be some brilliant players that don't even get on the plane and don't pull on that Lions jersey, which looking at the talent there, it just seems quite cruel. What I will say is, because the talent is so good, and because Jack Willis is not playing international rugby currently, and also adding to that the fact that Toulouse are likely to be going deep in the top 14 competition, which will overlap a little bit with the Lions. Right now, with the players being so good in the Six Nations in the back row position, I can't justify having Jack Willis in. As much as I think he is worthy of it, just as a pure talent, I can't justify it. So I'm taking Jack Willis out for now. He may play himself back in with massive Heineken Cup, or Champions Cup, I should say, performances for Stade Toulousain. We will see. But I'm putting in Jack Conan, who's just been imperious. I mean, he was the number 8 on the last tour to South Africa for the British and Irish Lions. He has been ace. And that one majestic performance from Jamie Ritchie gets him in my squad. Xander Fagerson, I've had him just thinking, yeah, he's penciled in, he's going to Australia. Jamie Ritchie was that good, he's just leapfrogged him, got the starting job for Scotland, and Gregor Townsend described it as the best game Jamie Ritchie has ever played for Scotland. Hard to disagree. I've got him in. What do you think about those 8 names? That's what I've got, meaning that the forward pack looks like that. Portagenge, Schoeman, Sheehan, Lake, George, Fagerson, Stewart, Furlong, and that extra spot to Beelum. 5 locks: Itoji, McCarthy, Ryan, Byrne and Chesham, Curry, Ritchie, Van der Fleer, Morgan, Darge, Doris, Earl and Conan. I'm pretty happy with that. Pretty happy. What I will say is that extra spot that I've given to Beelum, you could distribute that and put it somewhere else. Jack Willis maybe might play himself into that form. That is a bit of a swing spot. You could sort of plug that in wherever you want. Another one I would consider is taking a 4th hooker in Ronan Kelleher. I think he could arguably justify that as well. So I'll be interested to know what you think. If you disagree with any of these selections, think I've got it wrong on some. The way that distributes itself in terms of players from different nations, there are 10 Irishmen, 7 Englishmen, 4 Scots and 2 Welsh in the forward packs. And I think that's probably a fair representation of where those teams are. Ireland have the best pack. England are actually pretty good up front. 7 players. And I never thought an English scrum would actually be holding up really well. I mean, just the scars of that some of the games where England's scrum has been its liability, its Achilles heel, it's actually going quite well. And a couple of Welshmen in there is good to see. Could there be more? We'll see. As for the back line, scrum half position, I had Jameson Gibson Park, obviously, and I had Ben White and Alex Mitchell in my squad last time. Now, Alex Mitchell did not have his best game against Scotland, and he was outplayed by his opposite number, Ben White, and Thomas Williams has been so good that these 3 spots, well, 2 of the 3 spots, the other 2 to go along with Jameson Gibson Park, are going to be really hotly contested. And to be fair, I think Thomas Williams has played himself in, and Alex Mitchell may have played himself out on the basis of that last game. There are still 2 rounds to go in the Six Nations, so this can all change, and this is why I will revisit this video again and again and again, and why I invite your comments. As for the fly halves, I had Finn Russell, Marcus Smith, Sam Prendergast. Finn Russell is pushing. He's pushing. I mean, he's got the number 10 job for England. Nonetheless, I genuinely think Marcus Smith, and I think this phrase is overused and quite often said about people where it's not merited. I think it is merited in the case of Marcus Smith. I think he is one of England's few world-class players. I think he's close to world 15 level. I think he's that good as a fly half. England don't use him there currently, but I think Andy Farrell probably will. That's just my guess. So I'm leaving it as it is with the fly halves. I have an extra spot at centre, which is I'm so relieved about, because how harsh is it on the guys that don't make it on the plane in the centre position? The talent is so good. I've got those 2 pairs of Irish and Scottish centres, Huey Pilotu and also Bundyaki and Gary Ringrose, meaning, as I had it before, Robbie Henshaw and Ollie Lawrence missing out. I can pick another one of those players, and I think it will go to one of those players. And if I were picking, it would just go to Ollie Lawrence right now, although Robbie Henshaw, much like Ollie Lawrence, can play both sides, 12 and 13. Just going to nudge towards Ollie Lawrence on that one. But that's harsh on Robbie Henshaw. Tell you what will be really harsh: if Gary Ringrose does not go on this tour, because it's mad that he's never been on a British and Irish Lions tour. As for the outside backs, 6 spots that I picked last time, and they were Duhan van der Merwe, James Lowe, Manny Faye Waboso, Tommy Freeman, and then the two fullbacks, Hugo Keenan and Blair Kinghorn. So I have one extra spot already, and I'm going to give that spot. Well, I think the main battle, there are other contenders there on the board, but the main battle for the extra spot, the next spot for me would be Mac Hansen and Darcy Graham. I think it's a bit of a shootout, and I think it has to. A right wing specialist feels right as well, because James Lowe and Duhan van der Merwe both almost exclusively operate on the left wing. Tommy Freeman and Manny Faye-Waboso have mainly played on the right, but 11 and 14 to be honest for England. So I'm just going Mac Hansen. Darcy Graham is absolutely brilliant. Mac Hansen as a brilliant footballer. He can come in at that first receiver position and enable the fly half to get a little bit wider. And also the story, just him going back to Australia, is pretty cool. And I would imagine, although Darcy Graham seems like a really good character, Mac Hansen seems like a potential morale-boosting tour favourite of a bloke. Just a great bloke on tour. So we'll see. And I suppose an Aussie tour guide. You'd have him and Sione Tuipulotu, who could show people around their native land. But Manny Faye-Waboso, he's having surgery, of course. That's one to watch. I'm going to keep him in for now, because I don't know how successful the surgery will be and how quick a recovery he's expected to make. We will see about that, but it could well be that Manny Faye-Waboso has to drop out. And then if that were to happen, I would probably put Darcy Graham in as well. But as it stands, that is the backline squad that I've picked, the 18 names. Gibson Park, Williams nudging Mitchell out, Ben White as well. Finn Russell, Marcus Smith, Sam Prendergast, the 10s. Those 5 centres now with Ollie Lawrence added to Huipilotu, Aki and Ringrose. James Lowe and van der Merwe, Freeman, Faye-Waboso, Hansen, Keenan and Kinghorn. I'm pretty good with that. What do you reckon? That is in the back line, 7 Irishmen, 6 Scotsmen, 4 English and 1 Welshman, Thomas Williams. Again, that feels kind of right, doesn't it? The 2 best back lines are most represented. And overall, that means Ireland would have 17 out of the 41, England 11, Scotland 10 and Wales 3. And again, that kind of reflects where these teams are. Ireland are the best side, most represented. England and Scotland are very even. And England, appropriately enough, England won by 1 point, and England have got 1 more player than Scotland in the matchday squad. And Wales with 3. But if Wales keep having a resurgence, you never know. 1 or 2 of those maybes might end up on the plane themselves. As for a matchday 23-man squad, based on the players that I've picked, who would you select? I'm going to get myself out of the way and show you my team, which looks like that. So I have got, Tadhg Furlong, not having played for a while, I'm just going to park him for now. If he's fit and available and plays, he's in. He's in the matchday squad. Could well be a starter. Although Will Stewart is playing so well just now that I've got him in the matchday 23 behind Xander Fagerson. I've got Dan Sheehan behind Dewi Lake. Dewi Lake needs a big game for Wales when he comes back, because Jamie George is pushing him hard and Ronan Kelleher waiting in the wings for an opportunity. Andrew Porter on the loosehead side, and I've got Ellis Genge as the backup. I've jumped Ellis Genge above Pierre Schoeman. I think Genge has been awesome. And I never thought I'd see the day 2 English props again are in a matchday 23 for the British and Irish Lions. Andy Farrell hasn't picked his test team, of course, but if I were picking it, I'd have 2 English players as props. I'd have Maro Itoje and Tadhg Beirne in the second row, and a back row of Tom Curry, Josh van der Fleer and Caelan Doris. 5 Irishmen in the pack, 2 Englishmen and a Scotsman. On the bench, Dewi Lake, Ellis Genge, Will Stewart, Ollie Chesham, who has been brilliant, and he just gets better with every game. The versatility he's got, the line out forward, the ball carrying, I think he's going to play himself into a test matchday squad. And Jack Morgan, the back row player on the bench in a fiercely competitive field. It's him or Ben Earl. Either of them could get it. I've just gone for Jack Morgan. And to complete all 3 Welshmen that I had in the squad, in the matchday squad as well, Thomas Williams is on the bench, Marcus Smith there, and Sione Tuipulotu, because those guys are backing up, well, an Ireland-Scotland hybrid, 4 Irishmen and 3 Scotsmen in the back line, Jameson Gibson Park and Finn Russell at half-back. And Finn Russell's come under some criticism. Yeah, he missed a few conversions. He's an elite player, absolutely elite. And imagine how good he'd be getting those boys outside him moving with a forward pack like that in front of him. And the service coming from Jameson Gibson Park wouldn't hurt as well. Aki and Jones are the centres. It could well be Sione Tuipulotu starting, and that would keep the Tuipulotu partnership together. Equally, Gary Ringrose, not too shabby. It could end up being Aki and Ringrose. I've got Aki and Jones for now, with Tuipulotu on the bench, and the back three of James Lowe, Hugo Keenan and Blair Kinghorn. Blair Kinghorn is some player, isn't he? And with that potential injury to Emmanuel Faye-Waboso, who I think would likely be a test starter on the right wing if he was fit and firing, well, why should you have to pick between Keenan and Kinghorn? Why can't you just pick them both? So I have. And I like that a lot. That's my test team right now if I were picking today. Tell me what you reckon. Let me know. I will revisit this again after round 4 of the Six Nations, after round 5, and then after some of the big Champions Cup and club knockout rounds as they happen, because the picture is ever changing. Fitness, form, injury recovery, all to play for with those spots. But that's what I've gone for. Let me know what you think, and I will see you on the next video.